Well, that it's a nightmare. The scene of independent film production is a kind of helter-skelter obstacle course. It's also actually exciting, and I have to tell you that I enjoyed myself hugely.
Tom, are you pleased with the product?
Yes. Yes, I'd like it back for a week, but apart from that, I'm pleased.
Why did you decide to turn it into a film?
I didn't. I was asked by somebody who wanted to make a straight film of the stage text, and the thing developed from there. I said I think it ought to be a film if it's going to be a film, and so on. But I hadn't thought of making it a film.
And yet you chose to direct it as well.
No, I didn't even do that. I was just doing a screenplay, and when I'd done it, at that point it seemed that to get a director would be like asking somebody to direct my film instead of his. And directing just grew out of writing it. It was just a continuation of writing it somehow.
What's the difference, do you think, between the stage and film?
Generically, stage and cinema, or this particular piece. I mean, in this case, I added a lot of stuff which doesn't entail words. It was just an opportunity to try and add to the comedy with side gags, whatever things I liked. But that's also a microcosm of the general difference, and the only real difference between cinema and stage, which absolutely matters, is that in the theatre you can't change the frame. You can't get a closer look at something specific, so the way you have to present things accords to different rules.
Is it harder to make a film than it is to stage a play, managerially?
I don't know. Oh, managerially, yes, it's a longer process, more difficult process. The economics are more complicated, and you know, all the myths are true, I would say.
What myths?
Well, that it's a nightmare. That the scene of independent film production is a kind of helter-skelter obstacle course when you're running up downward escalators, and it's also actually exciting, and if you take it in the right spirit and your life doesn't depend on it, there's no reason why it shouldn't be a stimulating and enjoyable way of life. I have to tell you that I enjoyed myself hugely on this film, but mostly on the making side of it. There was a long, endless business which hasn't even finished yet, which was to do with financing it, getting the money out up front and getting it back at the other end. I mean, it's not an elegant, tidy way to raise money to make anything. You'd only do it for movies.
What was hard about it?
What was hard about it was that none of the big studios wanted to touch it. The way this film was financed was simply, to put it simply, the money was made, I beg your pardon, the film was made on money which was advanced by a bank against letters from innumerable foreign distributors promising to accept the film and pay for it when it was finished. But that was conditional upon all kinds of things. I mean, they might have, I suppose they had certain rights to reject the film if they wanted it. I mean, I was working under quite normal limitations. For example, it wasn't allowed to be more than 2 hours, would be a typical one. But what it meant was that the film was really put together from a jigsaw of financial pieces, and you got this much money from Iceland and this much money from Japan, and there must have been 30 of these pieces, and
which came with conditions?
Well, only the conventional ones. I mean, fundamentally, you take your film around in abstract. Here's a script. Here are the people who are making it. Do you want to have it in your country? And those who say yes, then negotiate a deal, and they promise to pay a certain amount of yen or francs when the film is delivered. But we, in fact, deliver it to a general worldwide distributor. I have to. I'm sure you know that in the jargon, domestic means USA, and foreign is everything else. We had no domestic money at all in the movie. We started off with some from a distributor, but the bank wouldn't go along with that particular arrangement, didn't like it. And we ended up getting all the money from foreign, which includes here. The pieces keep falling out. And, you know, as in any other rather freewheeling business, not everything people say comes true in the end. So one spent as many hours on the telephone as directing the movie, or possibly more.
Why do you think there was no money forthcoming from the domestic market, American and British?
Well, no, not British. Domestic is American.
Just American.
That's it,
Sorry.
in their language. It's an American film in a sense. The producer is based in California, and we got the money because we had Richard Dreyfuss. I mean, to put it simply, we needed what they called an American star, as indeed he is, to get the money we needed, which was something like $4 million. We had to have some star. Gary and Tim were there, but I think now one might get the money now for Gary and Tim, actually. But this was before Gary made the last two films. Tim has made a success with Vincent and Theo. That hadn't happened.
Do you think it's a problem in that the film is not an obvious box office hit? It's not a Star Wars, it's not a Rambo.
No.
You don't think that's a problem? Do you
Problem for whom?
Well, do you think that's a problem in terms of getting the funding and the money?
Well, I don't think of it as a problem. You'd certainly find it easier to get the money, I suppose, for a much more commercial smelling film. Nothing odd about that. That's what one would expect. That's the way the world works.
Do you think audiences will be receptive to this film, and do you expect it to play in the main cinemas?
Well, I'm told that there's about 100 cinemas in this country which would play this sort of film, which is fine with me. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised to hear it. I think of it as being a film with quite a wide appeal, certainly not a particularly narrow, esoteric appeal at all. It's a comedy which gives it an edge. I've hardly seen it with an English-speaking audience. The first time I saw the film was at Venice with Italian subtitles, and it was all depressing. I mean, I'm told the subtitles were not actually very good, and the film, you know, just sort of staggered along. And I didn't really see it until I went to Toronto. I didn't see it with an English-speaking audience, and the moment I was with Tim Roth, he was there for the festival. The moment it began, I mean, the first time we actually saw it with an English-speaking audience, it was immensely reassuring. It went like a West End comedy.
Do you think you'll direct again?
If I can write one, I'd like to direct again, but only something I've written.
Thank you.